welcome back. This video right here is in fact on how I fought the juvenile system after being put up to battle every other part of the system, including being framed by our very own detectives, falsely getting arrested, falsely being a convicted felon for 4 years of my life, on top of miscarrying in jail, seeking no medical attention at all. And of course, our very own EMT left me to die in our own home after battling the school system as well. So now I am battling the Juvenile Delinquent Center, who, of course, I have a defiant teenager that I've been battling that with since 2018 from, the environment we lived in and the community as well. Just all around the city, there's nothing for our teenage youth to do out here. There's no, like teenage dens for them to go to. There's no dances, there's no gamings, there's no malls, no anything. So they're led to kind of just sit around drug dealers all day and being around things they shouldn't be around, which leads them to get in trouble, especially in a drug dealing community. And this was 2019. I was going through a lot. Like, I was going through so much stress. I actually was going through problems at work. On top of it, I was at work more than I could be at home. So my children were just running wild in this community where it really isn't safe, and a lot of, killings and drug dealing. So, which was bringing me more and more to depression, battling a lot of mental illness. So, and on top of it, we were working 10-hour shifts, 7 days a week for 27 days in November, and that went in straight into 6 days a week, 10-hour shifts, only being off on Sundays. So I would be exhausted. On top of it, I was trying to remodel my family home, and people were calling me and, just telling me things about my sons, and I could not be there. So, I began to pray heavy and just, think of ways and think of things that I could do to keep him safe. So in fact, the best thing to keep him safe was to get him arrested, because had I not, I felt like he would have got himself killed, because at this time a whole bunch of teenagers in our neighborhoods were like really going to juvenile with him all at the same time, including his, the people he were fighting against, and they all had gun charges from, shooting at each other. And a lot of parents that I respect and that respect me as well. Our children, we are watching them go to war because they have no guidance. And I want to just mention real fast that in the society today, in my neighborhood, in my community, we have experienced more fathers to vanish the earth than there are living on it. And this includes the men that are incarcerated as well. So this is the highest the crime rates ever been, and these mothers are not getting cold cases, and their murders are just thrown to the side and swept under the rug. And these young mothers are, they're hurting, and they cannot produce nourishments to their children who are hurting and acting out as well, because, they just cannot produce them, because the father is what made the family happy and kept that grounded, and stability there. So, it's just very hard in the Black community, especially when you can't seek therapy for all these traumas and destructions because you don't have a great job or you just can't afford it financially from the underpaying job. So it's a lot of reasons why these children are acting like that. And my son, he falls under there from how we were forced to live, you know what I mean? So to protect himself, he just feel like he need this stability, or he need this gun on his waist for stability to save his life. And when he was battling juvenile in and out, I would ask the judge, could they please give him, let him go to the job corps program, and they said no, they don't do that anymore. And so that's why I felt like I had to get him arrested, so I know that I could see and hear from my son, you know. And he was too young to lose his life to something senseless and something that he yet don't understand, along with the other teenagers. But I want to move on to say, so I was going through a lot in 2019, and so it's best to lock my son up. And you know, at first he was getting a lot of altercations and a lot of fights due to being incarcerated with the guys he was, you know, having altercations with. And on top of it, it was his first offense, going to jail. I made it to every visitation, every court date, because I was like so traumatized that he went to jail. Like, when boys first go to jail, you just had it makes you very vulnerable. It makes you very emotional because you just want the best for them. So I try to be there as much as I could, and I wasn't allowing him to make his mistakes either, which was kind of not okay. But now, you know, I'm happy I was protective like that, because that was a time, it was time for me to be protective like that and not let him just make that mistake that could potentially cause me not to see him again. So by the grace of God, that's how that went. Anyway, so to move forward, they were calling me left and right, like, hey, can we put him on medication? And I said no. And so, you know, we battled this with him for a while, but then he learned how to do the right thing. And he learned how to do the right thing on his own because he wanted to get in a rehab program to come home faster. So this was the point where he had to challenge himself to make the right decisions to, you know, get out of a negative situation. So that's where he was left to challenge himself, and he ended up going to the rehab program, and we were all excited. So when he get to the rehab program, they asked, you know, hey, can we put him on medication? And I said no. They wanted to put him on a narcotic, and I told them, no, you cannot put him on a narcotic, you know what I mean? Nurse was like, you know, well, he's having sleeping problems. And I was like, no, that's not true. Like, my son does not whatsoever have sleeping problems, you know what I mean? So she was like, since I was like tired and overworked, and, you know, they just kept calling me, and I was in the middle of getting my home remodeled and just going through a lot of stress. I told her, you know, let me rest up, and then I would do research and see what I could come up with. And so she was like, okay. So then she called back, and I told her I had been looking into a stimulant that he can try from 0.5 to 2 milligrams to see how he can do on that stimulant, because with the stimulant, if it didn't react instantly, well, then it just wasn't for him. And that was the best that I can do. And when they gave it to him, it didn't react instantly, and it wasn't nothing else that I can do. So when he had got released after 8.5 months from the juvenile system, and I had asked his probation officer, like, you know, can you give me his medical card? Because my intuition was like just telling me, girl, ask for that medical card, because I knew something just didn't feel right. And so he gave me a government medical card, and I said, what is this? And he said, that's his medical card. And I said, this is not his medical card. I gave you the medical card through, you know, my employment, because we no longer get government medical. And so, you know, he was like, hold on, I'll be back. So when he come back, he actually says, the medical card is at CVS. And I was like, well, why is this at CVS? And he was like, you know, I don't know. And when I got there, the lady was like, oh, here you go. Here's your son's prescription. And I said, what do you mean? What is this? And she told me it was the narcotic that I told the judge he wasn't allowed to have, the probation officer he wasn't allowed to have, the staff members, and including the nurse, most definitely the nurse, I told him, or I told her that he could not have. And so, you know, at this time, I worker, you know, she kind of was like, well, this actually is his second prescription. And I was like, what do you mean his second prescription? She was like, this is a refill. This may be something you want to call them and ask them about. And I, you know, instantly called the nurse and I said, hey, you know, I asked you not to give my son that narcotic and you gave it to him anyway. And she said, no, I didn't. And I said, yeah, well, if you didn't, why do I got a refill? And, you know, the CVS worker said that this actually have been a second prescription that they had for him to fill. And she was like, well, if we did give it to him, we thought that we had your consent. And I said, that's not true, because I told the judge no, I told you no, the probation officer no, and the staff members. So you all were aware that I said no. So that was not right. Why would you give him that narcotic? And she said, well, we didn't give it to him. We just keep it on the side. And I said, well, keep it on the side for what? And she said, well, I don't know. You know, they just have us keep it on the side just in case. And I said, just in case what? And, you know, she kind of said it was a part of her job requirement. And so I called CVS back. I called CVS back and I said, well, you know, they said they just keep it on the side just in case. And the CVS staff member said that's not true, because we can only fill a prescription by doctor's order, which I already knew that. So this just shows that they can do pretty much what they want to do with our children, with injecting them with things that is harming them and making them have a greater mental illness. And it is hard to fight that out of them. And for you mothers out here that have defiant teenagers, this is things you may want to look into, because when my son was released, I kind of like called him one day. He was leaving out and I was like, you know, they were drugging you, and when they gave you medicine, did it make you feel kind of zoned out? And his eyes got big and he looked to the ground, said yeah, and just flew out the door. And I wasn't done talking to him, but I knew he suffered from trauma, because he knew exactly what I was talking about. And at that time, that brought the hugest destruction on me, and it just was not cute at all. My feelings, my whole soul left. Right when I had given up and just couldn't take any more traumas or destructions, you know, I just didn't see what God had for me at the end of the tunnel. And once I reached the end of that tunnel and I had nowhere else to just run for myself, I ran into a inspirational leader that was the same reflection as me, and he and his wife also owned their own business, and I had never seen this before. And it kind of like made me, he ended up being, in fact, one of the top 3 psychologists. And from then, as you can see, I was able to water my roots and just face everything that was, you know, sent to destroy me, but didn't. In fact, it helped better me to become an even better me. So I want to give you guys tools also on how to become a better you and get over your obstacles and challenges as well. Well, I hope you guys were inspired. Thank you for tuning in. Please go to YouTube, subscribe, like, share, and comment, and tell me what you think. And if there's anything you guys want to talk about, just list it below and I'll make more videos on it. Thank you.